Hi, I'm Jules and you're listening to Jules FM. In this episode, I'm sharing my takeaways from my chat with Dave Hughes, aka Hughesy. A conversation I would highly recommend you go back and listen to. Not only for the perceptive insights he has on the world, but also for the ease at which he makes everything seem funny. A powerful and joyous combination. You know, some people make success look effortless, like they were born to do it. But after speaking with Hughesy, I realised that his success comes down to something far more human. It's persistence, perspective, and his innate ability to laugh, even when things didn't go to plan. Hughesy shared with me that laughter has always been his favourite thing in life, even the inappropriate kind. As a kid, he didn't dream of making people laugh, though. He wanted to be a sports star. He was competitive, passionate, and, in his words, obsessed with winning. But at 24, playing reserves for Bentley, his captain told him maybe it was time for him to focus on his comedy. And so he did. Not because the path was clear, though, but because his love of laughter just kept pulling him back. Hughesy had said he first discovered comedy when he was 14, but he didn't pursue it back then because he was scared not of failing, but ironically, of being laughed at. Growing up in Warrnambool, there weren't a lot of opportunities. There wasn't a comedy scene, and he just didn't find a space to share that part of him. But then, after failing at his sporting AFL career and also dropping out of an information technology course, he decided to give it a go. It's funny, isn't it, how sometimes we think we're heading down one path and then when blocks get put in the way or things just don't pan out, we make a different decision. We realize actually this is the way I was meant to be heading. I do believe things happen for a reason. And Hughesy's story validates that. Interestingly though, his first ever gig over in Perth was a complete failure. He bombed, absolutely. But instead of quitting, he told himself something that moved him forward, that kept him going and made him show up again the next day. It's incredible how important our self-talk is and how what we say to ourselves in those moments of failure or challenge or difficulty, how they can make all the difference to where we go after that. And what Hughesy told himself in that moment might be the single most important moment in his career. Isn't that what success often looks like? Not the big breakthrough moment, but it's the quiet, courageous decision to try again. And even often before you've fully recovered from the fall. Hughesy said it was a small encouragement from people he respected that kept him going early on, and the absolute love of what he was doing that carried him on long before the money came in. Even after his first TV appearance, which I thought was interesting, he was on Hey Hey It's Saturday, and he thought fame would follow him instantly. He refers to this moment of rocking up to the dog queue, which is very funny to listen to, but it wasn't the moment where everything changed. He said there were many years where he was doing it for the love of it and there was no remuneration. So he wasn't making any money, but the joy of making people laugh was why he kept going. Even when his friends who had started in the information technology course were earning hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that clear purpose and that clear why was all he needed just to keep showing up and doing what he loved. Hughesy identifies a turning point in his career when he really looked at his self-talk. When he started thinking about the positives and how lucky he is, things really started to change. And he explained in our earlier chat about the importance of keeping those positive thoughts going in his head and how he does that, including things like journaling and some of the affirmations he tells himself every day. He even borrows a little message from Jim Carrey, who said, "I am the universe having a human experience," which seems to be pretty much the way Hughesy lives his life. He sincerely believes that how you perceive life is your life, and that happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you decide to notice and embrace. And that if you forget, this is a great part, every day you have the opportunity to start over. He calls it forgetting yourself, when you stop thinking about how you're doing and just start being. And that's when the joy returns. Every moment of presence, he says, is a meditation. Even eating your lunch or going for a walk. And the happiest people in the world are the ones who think about themselves the least. What I loved most, though, is how he handles negativity. Because, let's face it, success attracts critics. And the more successful you are, the more critics you attract. His strategy, though, which I thought was absolute gold, allows him to hear and read negative comments all the time, but not let them affect him. Because when you take your ego out of it, he said criticism loses its power. And he believes that this is a lesson we should teach all our kids, is that feedback only hurts you if you let it. And you can choose the feedback that is going to help you grow. It takes daily practice, obviously, to stay positive and keep your mind clear. But to Hughesy, that's the real work. A lot of his success he attributes to actually the mental work he's done. And he has created this very successful reality. His advice to anyone chasing a dream was fantastic. And it's such a simple concept. I recommend you go back and listen to part 1 and part 2 to hear these insights and think about how you can apply them to your own life, including what Hughesy thinks is the secret ingredient to longevity. Hughesy reminded me that when you can find amusement in your own failure, you become unstoppable. And in my original chat with Hughesy, you'll be able to hear the moment when that revelation really hit him and how he works on it. This conversation with Hughesy was such an inspirational and joyous experience in itself. I would highly, highly, highly suggest you go back and listen to it in its entirety in parts 1 and 2. If something in this conversation has lit a spark in you, take the step, find your courage and see what happens. Don't forget to hit follow on whatever podcast platform you're on, and I'll see you next episode.